we had nothing else, no option but to go and work on our thing without expecting anything out of it, which is the way that everybody should do it, right? Like I do this because I love it, because this is my passion, and this is what I want to do with my time in my life, and enjoy that process. And at that specific moment, we really had no option. It was either that or binge watching TV, right, or playing video games.
What's up, everybody? It's Keith at GhostCultMag.com, and I welcome back in for the second time ever from Art of Shock. How are you doing?
Here than you, bro.
I'm really well. I'm really well. I was really funny. Right before I started recording, I had the promo open for the song titles, and it started to play. Let's not get to monetize. But yeah, man, congratulations. We're on the eve of a brand new record coming out in September. I'm really excited for you. How's things? How's life with the band?
Very good. Really excited, that finally this thing is going to see the light of day. We started this process at the beginning of the pandemic, right? The lockdowns. We had nothing else to do. If you remember last time we talked, our first album was actually dropping on the day several states started announcing lockdowns, right? So we were fucked, completely fucked. We had nothing else to do but go back to the studio, write more songs, right? So here we are now, excited to show them to everybody.
In the meantime, did that time allow you to sort of spend extra time perfecting the tracks, or getting rid of stuff you weren't happy with? And did that extra time help, or do you think it would have been better if you just were able to put it right out sooner?
I don't know. It's very special, and I think that anybody that created albums at that period of time will tell you the same. We had more time to experiment, and a lot of us did things that we wouldn't have done otherwise, right? Trying different layers, different instruments, different textures, right? And yeah, that's what we did. We went fucking crazy, dude.
You did go fucking crazy. And I am going to say, I know that every band say it's very cliche. This is our best record. This is our heaviest record. This is the most extreme record. But it does feel like you guys stepped up your game a lot, musically, vocally, lyrically, which I want to talk about in a second. Was there any particular area? And obviously, like, you always want to get better. But was there a particular thing you wanted to accomplish with this record that maybe the band hadn't tried to do before?
Originally, no. We started, first of all, we were all depressed, right? Especially me. I'm like, okay, let's go and try things, right? Let's see if we can do Dark Angelus Part 2 at least, right? And then things started evolving from that. And when I saw little things like, okay, I can probably sing better, right? I started training a lot more. I could probably do this better, but it was with the process. I wasn't aiming any of the above. It happened as we were writing.
That makes a lot of sense. I understand. And I'm sorry, like we all, it's not like we're still kind of suffering from what happened the last few years, right? It's not officially over for the whole world. It's like still a thing where we're feeling the effects, especially in music industry, touring, album releases. We're still kind of recovering. So I don't know, I'm sure the band expected to tour and make money. How did you, obviously, and again, I'm sorry for your depression and anything else you guys suffered, losses, if you lost anybody, but, how did you manage to keep going on? Was it the music? Was it something else? Did you guys have day jobs to keep it going? How did you, soldier on?
At the moment, like, even if you had a day job, we were into the lockdowns, right? Like, very few people were actually working. So yeah, we had nothing else, no option but to go and work on our thing without expecting anything out of it, right? Which is the way that everybody should do it, right? Like I do this because I love it, because this is my passion, and this is what I want to do with my time in my life, right? And enjoy that process. And at that specific moment, we really had no option. It was either that or binge watching TV, right? Or playing video games.
We all became really good at baking banana bread and cookies. I did. And planting, people got plants, got into plants and stuff. I think it was a good, we needed distractions, right? And I know, listen, you be a front man in a band, extrovert, right? Like by nature, you want to go play shows, you want to see friends. What was it like that first show back, or even that first time back at the bar to hang out with people? What was that like for you?
It was really weird. The first time out after the lockdowns. It was actually when the lockdowns were easing a little bit, like when all tables were outside and blah, blah, blah. We went to the Rainbow, and it was weird, really weird, because they had the tables like 6 feet apart from each other. All of them, they were on the parking lot. It was really weird. It was still the apocalypse, right? We were living in Mad Max world. So that first time was kind of weird. It started getting better. And by the time we were touring again, I remember a lot of people told me that they were like a little insecure of coming back and like to the shows and everything, because like we have this in the back of our minds, right? We might get this thing, we might get the plague and die, or give it to our elders, whatever. But then we realized that we were fine.
Well, eventually it was fine.
Right? exactly, but it was like a little
It was
process
weird.
between the bands and the fans, and we were like, okay, we're okay being here together, right?
Yeah. I don't want
It
to
was
keep I don't want to keep sounding like a broken record. I definitely went like 550 something days without a show. And a little part of me was like, I'm gonna lose it. And then my first show back, luckily it was like right near my house. So I felt like, okay, if I don't feel good about this, I can just flip and get right home. It was Exmortis at DNA Lounge. I live in San Francisco. So it's like, and it was it was scarily packed the first show back from anything. I was a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie, in the summer of 21. But here we are. We
and then you
persevered.
feel comfortable, right? Like I'm already here. If anything's gonna happen, well,
Yeah, yeah. And also possibly I'm not a scientist and I'm certainly no doctor of anything except metal, but I only play a doctor on TV and YouTube. But I will say that viruses happen, plague, these things come back. Things can happen, hopefully not again to that level. Hopefully we're better prepared next time. But I want to talk about Shine Black Light, and this record's killer, and I really am interested in this. You guys, everybody is always going for the name thrash metal and death metal producers, and you guys went a little bit out of the box for your comfort level with Taylor Young, who's brilliant and great, and we know him from his bands and we know him from production, but obviously not the first top of mind guy for a band like yours. So why did you go with him, and what did you get out of working with him?
for us it made all the sense in the world, because he's a mad scientist of sorts with sonic violence, right? And we were going so like in so many different directions. The album clearly is a pretty big compared to the Arcane, when it's something that's gonna hold it together and something that's big and strong, and another voice, right there. So Taylor made a lot of sense. He has his signature. Not all of his records sound the same, but his signature is that he always looks for the most brutal and violent thing that can be achieved, right? Sonically on any of his productions. So yeah, and it was fantastic working with him. He became like a producer should, right? The fifth member of the band. He was into every song, into every single change, and that for a band, like that makes you feel happy, and you can work harder when someone has your back.
Right on. I will say that the heaviest parts of the record just absolutely pummel. They really, I think whatever you guys were trying to achieve, you did it on this. And the heaviness of the record is really great. I think it's appropriate, and I'm so stoked for people to hear this thing. But let's do this. Let's do a little track by track rundown, whatever you feel like sharing. I will give you the song name and you can comment. Get my list out. Here we go. And so I love these song titles. Also, the first track on the record is 2020V.
It's 2020 volts.
It's 2020 volts.
In
Okay, I was like, is it 2020 volts? About
the
charges.
electric chair, it's like
The electric chair.
220 volts, right?
I need to sit in an electric chair for that. Go ahead.
The whole idea of the song is that we all got punished. Humanity got punished, society got punished. Whether you did something or not didn't fucking matter, right? We all got punished and put in jail at the same time. We all got the boot, and it comes from that depression, right? That made us feel.
Right on. We all got punished. Maybe we deserve to get punished. I used to make jokes during the worst of it that like, oh, we always made songs about plagues, death metal, thrash metal, black metal. It's all about the end of the world, and then it happened, and we're like, oh. It happened to us. Right. Devoid is the second track on the record.
Yeah, that one is about adolescence, and kind of coming of age, finding yourself. Maybe sometimes you need to say fuck you to everyone, right? And leave and become a pirate. Talk more about the lyrics because you have to interpret them. But yeah, I basically wrote this one about a friend of mine that's like a real life pirate.
All right. She's nice. All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't fully expect you to completely share all your secrets, and we do want the listener to make up their own mind. Death Stays Silent is the third track on the album.
Well, that one is it always I still feel empathy, every time I see these fucking mass shootings and people killing themselves, and there's a lot of mental illness, a lot of I just wonder what's going on and why so many people and why everybody chooses to do this type of things, right? And go and hurt themselves or hurt each other, and it seems like it's normal, right? Some people even ignores that type of information nowadays. Like, oh yeah, whatever, thoughts and prayers. I know that something's happening, right? Something really bad is fucking happening. Like, we have to pay attention. It comes from that, For me, trying to feel the empathy, it's like what's going on through the mind of a person goes out to do this, I don't know. That's my
we don't put enough of a priority on paying attention. It's like time after time after time. To me, it comes back to mental illness, whatever your beliefs are, and I feel like we just don't care as a society. We don't. I care. I know you care. I could tell from the lyrics, but like, we don't care. I will say again, I really love these. I will say this: these are definitely some of your best lyrics you've ever made. These are some of my favorite songs by the band, and it's because of not just the performance and the music, but the lyrics. They're very hard hitting lyrics. I think maybe much more direct than even in the past. Like very very direct, which I really appreciate.
I think we were going to like ever since Dark Angelus, we wanted to be a little more real, like even when using archetypes, right? Like demons and hell and witches, we try to talk about like real things. But I think we achieved the next level with this one, it's a little better, a little more real. It's darker, obviously, right? Because when you take all the fantasy out, it can be sometimes harsh, we had to change some of that because it was a little too harsh, a little too direct. There's no fantasy.
Yeah, right on.
So,
I feel like even if Dio was still alive, he'd be talking about real shit by now.
yeah, exactly.
He would
It's a
meet.
necessity, I think.
Yeah, it's our job actually. One of my speaking of demons, witches, and hell, Drag Me to Hell is next.
It's not about that. Drag Me to Hell is a very personal song that I wrote about a situation that I actually lived through of domestic violence. And it's my memory of not seeing a future outside of that, even like kind of accepting my sentence, right? They might kill me at some point, but I cannot see life. I don't know how to get out of it. And that moment is, everybody I know that has been through that shit says the same thing. At some point, you cannot fathom life. See, I wrote that little piece of
Tough stuff. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. Be None the Wiser is next.
That's one about society telling you who you are, right? It's funny. It's just like what happens to every single metalhead or punk rocker or anybody that lives an alternative lifestyle, right? It's like they start calling you names, telling you you're satanic, you do this, blah, 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 evil. And at some point, you're like, you know what? I'm not going to fight you anymore.
Fair enough.
If you want me to be your enemy, I'm
still
not going to do anything against you, right? But
right.
If you want to think about me as your enemy, then go ahead, dude. I don't care anymore.
Let me ask you a question. You're a professional metal musician and touring performer. It's like on one hand, there's like this mainstreaming of metal that I don't care about. People copying our shirts and wearing spikes and pretending to be metal. And some people are like, Lady Gaga and Demi Lovato are huge metal heads, and I love that about them. But also at the same time, still get weird looks from people. Like when a famous pop star wears a Slayer shirt, you're like, oh, how cool is that? They're a badass. And then when we just wear what we wear every day, look at those freaks. It's kind of so weird. Just kind of weird. I don't want to be accepted, but also I don't want to be like reviled either.
We don't want anybody to mess with us, right? We don't mess with anybody. Right. It's simple. And yeah, of course, the cool people can pull it off and be cool doing it, right? And we're doing it. God bless you. It's super fun. That's true. And it's incredible that this genre has been there for over 50 years, right? And that still happens.
Unbelievably. I think I heard Carrie King say that when one of the Jenners, Kylie Jenner, wore a Slayer shirt, they sold like 1 million shirts the next week. So I hope a Kylie Jenner wears an Art of Shock shirt soon. Or Demi. Yeah, it'd be amazing.
With that, right? People complain about it, but they're actually selling shirts. Like, who cares? That's helping the artist, dude.
Yeah, that helps everybody. You Don't Know Me is the next track.
What you don't know me is about I've seen I was reading about this like thousands and thousands of rape kits that remain unopened in the United States, and nobody gives a shit. And lots of cases where people don't even open them because it's like, oh yeah, she was kind of looking for it, right? Because of her lifestyle or whatever. She lived some of this shit. That song is a really eerie one. It's like the ghost of the victim talking to the detectives and people in charge of finding justice for people that has no voices anymore.
Right on, I get that. Thank you. The title track, Shine Black Light, is next.
Well, that's another one that's kind of it's inspired by me watching crime documentaries, right? You see how all these forensic teams, they have the black lights, and when like you could see like an otherwise perfect house, right? You turn the lights off and shine the black light on, and then you can see the carnage, the blood spatter, and everything over the walls and everything. And I started thinking, what if I had one of those, but to shine over people's minds and souls, and my own too, right? What if we could do that? That kind of tied up the whole idea of the album, because everything is about the human condition, right? What if we could see those stains in each other's minds and souls, to see who we really are?
Awesome. There's that lyrical depth I was talking about. That's it right there. I felt that on this record a lot, and that song. The Spark is the next to last track on the record.
Well, yeah, that one is Spark is about addiction. It's about playing with fire. It's pretty obvious, that one, right? Like it says like I'm sitting on a fucking oil drum full of gasoline, and gunpowder all around me playing with a spark, right? Let's see what happens. That's about addiction.
Very well. And then the final track on the album is The Defeated.
Well, that one's obvious, right? It's about depression. Again,
Indeed, the secret killer. I have
horrible
lost so many friends to depression, and I have suffered with anxiety and depression my whole life. So thank you for talking about it. I think it's we don't have enough. It's weird because again, it's like it's present in everybody's life, the whole world, not just our community, everybody. And then it's a thing that's just kind of forgotten about.
It is, and I think we're talking about it more. Which is really important. But even when you're going through it, because you've gone through it, right? Like at the moment, like it feels sometimes that nothing's gonna happen anymore, right? There's nothing left to do, or nothing that you ever did matter. It's just a sadness and disappointment, and I don't know, some heavy feeling. At some point, it doesn't even make sense, right? But we feel that, and it's really. But like, hopefully, we have people. I mean, we're talking about this, right? We always have somebody that we can reach out to and talk about it, and that might help a little bit.
Indeed, we're always available. Anybody who's having a hard time that watches this and feels like they have no hope, you can always DM me, DM Ghost Cult Mag at Ghost Cult Mag. We always put, whenever there's a story about somebody like, Sinead O'Connor died, and she struggled her whole life with mental illness and threatened to unalive herself. And we put all the hotline numbers and emails and DMs in our story because, you just need to, I think just people need to be reminded that, it can get better. It does get better, but it's hard when you're in the middle of something, grief and angst and, the black hole of depression. It's hard to come out. It's really hard. A lot of people are alone, but you're not alone. There are a lot of people who want you here.
Let's just talk a little bit. You're gonna feel what you're gonna feel, but let's talk. Don't do stupid shit, right? Like we're available all the time. We have social media. We have people that's going through the same thing, that has gone through the same thing, So I think it's getting a little better now that we're more aware of this stuff. And yeah, I mean, happens to you, happens to me, happens to a lot of people, right? And now we're talking about. Before it was kind of taboo, right? Like, no, you have to be in the past. You have to be a manly man that never fucking feels anything, right? I feel absolutely fucking devastated. I don't know. I don't even know why sometimes.
I definitely came from the generation where my dad was like, "Don't you ever cry and don't be soft." And I definitely cried a lot and been soft all my life. Thankfully, I think it's for the better and not, I don't think everybody can be just a hard guy all the time. It's not possible. On a lighter note, just as we wind this up and I give you back the rest of your time, I had a funny thought come into my head, which is there's a lot of bands that are the art of, and you guys have been around probably the longest, but I was going to ask you if you were ever mistaken on a tour or by fans for another, like The Art of Dying is another band very similar in your same genre, not sounding the same, but same genre, same circles, sometimes same tour areas. You ever get go to show up at a show and people thought they were coming to the other band or, whatever?
No, I don't think that has ever happened. But I know there's like 3 or 4 bands, and like every year there's another one, right? The Art of Something. I just saw one. I don't remember, but I would give them a shout out. But no, it hasn't happened yet. But I mean, the reason of the name is that we were running out of names, and that somebody, which wasn't me, I was playing with the word "shuck," right? And one of the people we were working with, and they were like, "What do we do there?" Like that's fucking lit. That name it hasn't been taken yet, which was the most important thing and the decisive thing right there. It's like, what else do you want? Every single name has been taken.
So true. Bands, do a little research before you name your band the same thing that everybody else has, and try to have a name that's easily Googleable. That's not a word, but easily searchable, but not too easy, because there's a lot of generic band names out there, and then it's like, oh, that's never gonna stand out. Maybe we can have a festival with all the art of bands, and then you can all do the Spider-Man meme where you point at each other. It would be funny. I just needed a fun. Yeah, after all that heaviness, I just needed a fun.
It'll whatever. Be awesome. Even that gets old, right? Like band names, the more and more artists like finding names for their bands. Of course, we're gonna run into this problem until we have to have like entire sentences as names, right?
There was also Noun the Verb for a long time in like metalcore. Walk the Sky, something the something, and then but now we also have like all the awesome death metal bands with like completely unreadable logos and now almost unreadable names. Sanguisugabog, I'm looking at you. But anyway, all right, man. It's always great to see you. I really appreciate it. Great name,
you. Right? Like you can,
like no one can. You can't, even if they weren't good, you couldn't stop talking about them or ignoring them. And then they're great, actually. So like, of course, it's even better. All right, man. It's just good to see you, and congratulations. Shine Black Lights coming out September 9th on Century Media Records. And I'm just very happy for you guys with this album. Thank you so much for hanging out with Ghost Cult today, and I hope we do it again sometime.